SITREP World Briefing for June 13, 2026. The United States and Venezuela said Hector Rustenford Guerrero Flores, the leader of the Tren de Aragua gang, was killed in Venezuela in what both governments described as an operation involving the United States. Venezuelan authorities said the gang chief died during a joint operation. Guerrero, widely known by the alias Niño Guerrero, had become the most prominent face of a criminal organization that expanded from Venezuela into several other Latin American countries. The killing is significant because Tren de Aragua has become one of the region's most closely watched transnational gangs, linked by governments across the Americas to trafficking, extortion, and migrant smuggling networks. The United States designated the group as a foreign terrorist organization in February 2025, a move that elevated it from a law enforcement target to a national security priority. Washington had also offered a reward of up to $5 million for information leading to Guerrero's capture or conviction. The United States said it shot down multiple Iranian attack drones targeting commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz early Saturday. The Strait of Hormuz, which links the Persian Gulf to global shipping lanes, has long been a flashpoint because even short-lived attacks there can disrupt energy markets, insurance costs, and naval deployments across the region. A ceasefire took effect in April, but intermittent violence has continued since then, with each new exchange raising the risk that talks could collapse and the conflict could widen again. For Washington, protecting commercial traffic through the Strait of Hormuz is a core security objective because the passage is central to the movement of Gulf crude and other cargoes. For Tehran, military pressure around the waterway has often served as leverage during periods of negotiation and confrontation with the United States. Peter Magyar's election and assumption of office in Hungary marked the end of Viktor Orban's long rule, after an April vote delivered a sharp defeat to the nationalist leader who had dominated the country's politics for years. Magyar, described as a center-right prime minister, entered office with expectations of policy changes at home and abroad, including a possible rollback of measures that had made Hungary one of the European Union's most contentious members on civil liberties, democratic standards, and minority rights. The transfer of power in Budapest is significant not only because it closed the Orbán era, but also because it immediately raised expectations that Hungary's government would pursue a less confrontational relationship with Brussels. One of the first major signs of that shift came when Hungary's new government lifted the veto that former Prime Minister Orbán had imposed on Ukraine's European Union accession process, clearing the way for membership negotiations to resume on Monday. That decision carried weight well beyond Budapest, because Hungary had been a central obstacle inside the EU on one of the bloc's most politically charged wartime questions. Magyar's move suggested that his administration intends to distinguish itself from Orbán's approach to both the EU and Russia's war against Ukraine, and to reinsert Hungary into European decision-making as a more cooperative actor. Domestic groups are also looking to Magyar's government for changes after years in which Orbán's administration was widely criticized for its stance on LGBTQ rights and for using culture war issues as part of its broader political project. The new prime minister has not only inherited control of state institutions, but also the burden of proving that political change in Hungary will translate into legal and administrative change. For European partners, investors, and civil society organizations, the stakes are larger than a single election result. Whether post-Orbán Hungary will revise contentious policies, rebuild trust with EU institutions, and establish a more predictable governing style after more than a decade of centralization under Orbán. Sources and the full written briefing are available at sitrepbrief.com.